Join our owners as they dive into their laserpreneur journey at Houston Acrylic.
One of the most popular questions we get from customers in store is, how did Houston Acrylic start, and are you a big plastics company? Well, we're not a big company, and how we started, we're going to tell you in just a few minutes. I'm Courtney, and this is Patrick. We're the husband and wife team that founded Houston Acrylic, and we're here today to tell you about our journey for our small business.
It all started when Courtney got laid off from her job in May of 2020. Every day when I went home, she'd have the silhouette out on the dining table, making a ton of noise. She told me she was creating things like t-shirts, decals for Yeti tumblers. I guess those were the cool thing before the Stanley Cups these days. She kept telling me about this really neat thing, a laser cutter called a Glowforge, and how she just had to have one. Now, every time she said laser cutter, all I could think about was that scene from Toy Story. It's not a laser buzz, it's a blinking red light. But after a little while, I finally accepted my fate. We were going to own a Glowforge. It was just a matter of time. Now, like any good husband, I waited until the perfect opportunity to buy your wife something that's kind of like an appliance. Our anniversary. With just a couple of days to spare, I made a quick trip out to Austin to pick up a used Glowforge and brought it back to Houston. Now, the first thing I had to learn was how to deep clean a Glowforge because it was a little filthy. But it also meant that I got to make the first project on our Glowforge, a luggage tag for Courtney, because one of our favorite things to do was travel. So I made her a luggage tag with her name on the front and all the places we had been together since we met on the back. Inside, I tucked a little note that said, "Made on your new Glowforge," and I remember giving her luggage tag for our anniversary and her excitement as we agreed to set it up in our garage.
Using my experience from vinyl crafting, it seemed easy to jump right into laser crafting. I even got to use my same system in my Silhouette studio to make laser-ready designs. Of course, the designing was only part of the equation, and I needed materials, so I ordered materials off Amazon. Unfortunately, the materials I got off Amazon didn't match the item photo or the product description. I had ordered hot pink and got blush pink. If I was having this issue, I figured others were having this issue. So I thought, what a better opportunity than to explore starting a material supply store for Glowforge ready materials, where makers like myself could purchase materials. I debated this idea for a while, and I constantly told Patrick about it. I think he finally got tired of me debating it and telling him about it, that before I knew it, he had my website and my Shopify store already created. I guess we were making the jump into owning a laser supply store.
To get Courtney started with Houston Acrylic, I offered her some unused office space in the lobby of the technology business that I was running at the time. It was a modest start. She started with an IKEA shelf with about 25 colors and maybe like 10 or 12 pieces of each color. Now, that modest start picked up speed pretty quickly. One shelf turned into 2, then 3, then 4, and before I knew it, Courtney put me to work. She had me pulling orders while on conference calls with my wireless headset on, and what initially was just the lobby was now the conference room for packing orders, asking my employees to help customers when they would come in with their appointment, and it was out of control, but in a good way. We knew that we wanted to add more variety in what we offered, but I was all about the process, and Courtney was all about making things, so we needed a little help on the creativity front. And that's where Chelsea joined the team. Now, you'll hear from her more about her start in just a few minutes. Anyway, while it seemed like our little supply business was definitely starting to pick up speed, we had to have a real discussion, like, how busy does this have to be for us to call it successful, and does Courtney have to go get a real job again? Or is this the real job? Yeah, no, exactly. So with her not heading back to corporate, we were all in on this. We said that, let's make a great run at it and see where it takes us. Courtney kept her maker ambitions alive with her Etsy store. She'd spend about half the day in the lobby, aka her store, not all at once, back and forth throughout the day. She'd come in to pack orders, then she'd go back home and cut things on the Glowforge, back and forth throughout the day. We also had a bit of a daily ritual heading over to the UPS store because we hadn't yet figured out that they would come get the boxes from us. So we spent a lot of time waiting in line. I'm sure we've got a great picture of that. You know, around that time, it was probably, November or December, the weather started to turn a bit colder, well, at least as cold as Houston gets, and the Glowforge migrated from the garage to our living room. I'm not sure that I was super thrilled about that. But while we're talking about our garage, it had become the catch-all for everything Houston Acrylic. Suddenly there was a saw in there, we were cutting down wood, we were cutting down acrylic, we were putting it in the trunk of a Mazda, we were putting it in the bed of my truck. You know, this was a little bit of Houston Acrylic everywhere we turned in our life. We recruited family to help us out. Again, probably have some really fun pictures of that. And you know, I can remember as November wrapped up and we moved into December, we did things like making cutting boards for Christmas, and we also celebrated upgrading from our Glowforge and getting an Epilogue, which made everything go faster. It was around that time that I looked at what we were doing and told Courtney, hey, I think this Houston Acrylic thing needs its own space. Get out of my lobby.
I was thrilled to have my own space for Houston Acrylic. We moved into a 2,800 square foot space that had a combination of retail and warehouse behind it. It was the perfect layout for us to grow and allowed us to actually hire 2 family members other than ourselves. With this added space, we had the laser at the store, which meant I was no longer running home, and we're able to continue shipping and bringing in more offerings like wood and other new acrylic styles. By this point, we had thankfully figured out that UPS would pick up packages from us, and we were no longer taking them to the store. This was a relief. As we grew, we realized our small laser that we enjoyed was no longer large enough for some of the projects we wanted to undertake. So we wanted to go bigger. Patrick and Chelsea took a day trip to Austin one day, and they picked up another Epilogue that was much larger than our current one, and they brought it home with a U-Haul trailer.
It was terrifying.
It wasn't just for projects that we wanted to do for ourselves, but we also wanted to help our customers. So we launched our laser cutting services that allowed us to take on customer projects for customers that didn't have lasers that were big enough. We also started making rounds and arches for our customers and added laser cut words or designs on top of it. During the 18 months we were in that space, we changed a lot. We continued to add to our team, and it wasn't just family working there anymore. We had hired a showroom person. We hired 2 people to help in the back with receiving and shipping orders. And it wasn't long before we looked at our space and it was no longer large enough for our needs, and we started looking for a larger space.
You know, I wish I could tell small business owners that leasing space is easy, but it really wasn't, at least not for us. With what we had learned about the business so far at that time, about 18 months in, we kind of knew what sort of space we needed. We also knew roughly where in Houston we wanted to be. But when you kind of overlapped those two, the pool of options really wasn't huge. Now, we did get some great help from a tenant rep, and they did find us ultimately a really suitable space that was ready to be built out for us. We spent a lot of time figuring out that design, and actually that's where you'll find us today, with about 11,000 square feet of retail, fulfillment, and warehouse space. Before we moved in, we started planning things like how would the shelves go, how would we fulfill orders, where would we receive, where would we pack, and of course, where's the best spot for the lasers? Now, one of the things that we were most excited about when we moved in was that every single color we offer would be available in the showroom for purchase and to be compared with every other color that we had. And that's been a huge hit. You know, sometimes we're a bit of a road trip destination as people pass through Houston. Everyone says they've never seen anything quite like what we do here.
It's like a candy store.
Yeah, and I'm like a kid in a candy store, exactly. You know, when we moved in here about 1.5 years ago, we thought this place was huge. You know, there was space everywhere. I can remember when we moved in the first 2 or 3 pallets of acrylic, setting them in the warehouse. I thought, we'll never fill this. But now I kind of am hoping we just don't have to move too soon because it's filling up. It's been a really exciting journey.
And moving is not fun.
And moving is not fun.
Even though we've grown, we're still a family-owned and operated small business. With Chelsea, Patrick, and myself, you'll still find all three of us at the store if you were to drop in. On a day-to-day basis, I spend the majority of my time in the showroom speaking with customers directly or helping them with their project ideas. Odds are, if you've called or if you've emailed in, you've spoken to me and I've assisted you.
You know, I spend most of my days making sure that our operations around here run smoothly. Everything from getting new inventory in, getting it checked in, getting it put on the shelves, getting orders pulled, packed, and out the door every day. UPS and FedEx still pick up from us. Thank goodness we don't have to take it there anymore. As for Chelsea, well, she's over in the laser room. Let's hear from her about what she does each day.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I've known Patrick since elementary school, which makes us practically family. Growing up, I was always the kid eating the glue or trying to make something with the glue. And I've carried that passion for crafting with me ever since. From knitting to cosplay, if I could make it, I wanted to make it. I've always admired my fellow makers, but I never really saw a way to merge my love for crafting and my passion for entrepreneurship into a career. When Courtney first started Houston Acrylic, it was awe-inspiring to see my friend take a risk not only on herself, but on her love for making. I was there eager to offer unsolicited support and feedback wherever I could. It was such an honor when Pat and Courtney invited me along for this journey at Houston Acrylic. Like most entrepreneurial success stories, it was just the right mix of the right people at the right time. And we all had a shared passion for doing something for makers and by makers. At Houston Acrylic, I work on product development. I'm working with our manufacturers behind the scenes, bringing new colors and custom styles to our customers. From customer suggestions to upcoming trends, there's always something I'm working on to bring your material dreams to life.
Shop our materials at HoustonAcrylic.com and follow us at Houston Acrylic on social media for more laser tips.